The chandelier above her head cost more than her entire life savings. But Isabella Romano wasn't looking at the crystal. She was staring at two men who looked like they could buy and sell her world without blinking. Father and son. Both watching her like she was the only person in the room. Both waiting for an answer she didn't know how to give. The older one spoke first, his voice carrying the weight of empires.
Choose one of us for tonight, my father or I.
My father or I. His son's jaw tightened, and then she said the words that changed everything. Can I want both? As we spiral into this beautiful story, click the like and subscribe button. Have you done that? Thank you. Now let's dive into today's story. The question hung in the air like smoke. Isabella watched both men freeze. The father, Andrew Romano, didn't blink. His son, Alessandro, looked like he'd been struck. She hadn't meant to say it. The words just fell out, honest and raw and completely inappropriate. I'm sorry, she stammered, her brown skin flushing with heat. I didn't mean, don't apologize. Andrew's voice cut through her panic like a blade. He stepped closer, and the room seemed to shrink. Honesty is rare, especially in my world. Alessandro moved to his father's side, his younger face harder than it should be. You don't know what you're asking for. I wasn't asking for anything, Isabella said, lifting her chin despite the trembling in her hands. You're the ones who put me in this position. She was right. They had. 3 hours earlier, Isabella had been wiping down tables at the small cafe near the university when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Miss Carter? The voice was female, crisp, professional. This is Elena Marchetti calling on behalf of the Romano family. We have a proposition for you. Isabella's stomach dropped. She knew that name. Everyone in Florence knew that name. The Romanos owned half the city and controlled the other, half through fear and loyalty. They weren't people you wanted calling you. I think you have the wrong person. You're Isabella Carter, yes? 23 years old, studying art history at the university, working 2 jobs to afford your student visa? The phone felt heavy in her hand. How do you know that? Mr. Romano would like to meet you tonight, 8 o'clock. The Grand Hotel Baglioni, presidential suite. Why? He'll explain everything. A car will pick you up at 7:30. The line went dead. Isabella stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. She should have said no, should have blocked the number, and pretended the call never happened. But curiosity was a dangerous thing, and desperation was worse. Her rent was 3 weeks overdue. Her student visa renewal required proof of financial stability she didn't have. And the Romanos were known for being generous to those who pleased them. So she put on the only nice dress she owned. Black, simple, fitted enough to show her curves without being obvious, and waited for the car. The driver didn't speak. Neither did the man in the front seat, who was clearly armed. Isabella sat in the back of the black sedan and watched Florence blur past the windows, her heart pounding against her ribs. The hotel was exactly what she expected. Marble floors, gold accents, staff who moved like ghosts. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like ascending into another world. The doors opened directly into the suite. And there they were. Andrew Romano stood by the window, his back to her, hands clasped behind him. Even from across the room, she could feel the weight of his presence. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his silver-streaked hair perfectly styled. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her tuition. Alessandro sat on the leather sofa, younger but no less commanding. His dark hair was slightly messy, his tie loosened, his eyes sharp and calculating as they tracked her movement into the room. Miss Carter. Andrew turned, and Isabella forgot how to breathe. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things were beautiful. His face was all sharp lines and weathered strength, his eyes the color of smoke. Thank you for coming. I didn't really have a choice, she said before she could stop herself. Alessandro smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Everyone has a choice. Then I'm choosing to leave. She turned toward the elevator. 500,000 euros. Isabella stopped. Andrew moved closer, his footsteps silent on the expensive carpet. That's what we're offering, in exchange for 6 months of your time. She turned back slowly. My time doing what? Being seen with us, Alessandro said, standing now. He was taller than his father, leaner, but carried the same predatory grace. Attending events, family dinners, public appearances. You want to hire me to, what? Be arm candy? We want you to be part of our family, Andrew corrected. His voice was softer now, almost gentle. Temporarily. Isabella laughed, but it sounded hollow. Why me? You could have any woman in Italy. Because you're not from here, Alessandro said. Because you're unknown. Because you need what we're offering. And we need someone who won't complicate things with expectations. What kind of complications? Andrew and Alessandro exchanged a look. Something passed between them, silent and heavy. Our family is being watched, Andrew said finally. By authorities, by rivals, by people who would use any weakness against us. Having an outsider, someone temporary, someone with no ties to our world, provides a certain kind of protection. Protection from what? Questions we don't want to answer. Alessandro's tone made it clear the subject was closed. Isabella should have walked away, should have taken the elevator down and never looked back. But 500,000 euros would change her life, would let her finish school, help her mother back home, give her the stability she'd never had. 6 months? She asked. 6 months, Andrew confirmed. After that, you walk away. No strings, no obligations. And if I say no? Then you say no. His eyes held hers. We won't force you, Isabella. We don't operate that way. Alessandro made a sound that might have been agreement or amusement. She couldn't tell. I need to think about it. Of course. Andrew gestured to the sofa. But while you're thinking, have dinner with us. No pressure, just conversation. That's how she ended up sitting between them at a table set for 3, eating food she couldn't pronounce, while 2 of the most powerful men in Florence watched her like she was a puzzle they needed to solve. Andrew asked about her studies. Alessandro wanted to know about America. They were charming when they wanted to be, she realized. Andrew's charm was subtle, a slight smile, a well-timed question, a tension that made you feel like the only person in the world. Alessandro's was sharper, more playful, with an edge that suggested he could turn dangerous at any moment. Why art history? Andrew asked, refilling her wineglass. Because art tells the truth when people can't, Isabella said. It shows what was really happening beneath the surface of history. And what do you see beneath our surface? Alessandro leaned back in his chair, studying her. She met his gaze. Men who are used to getting what they want. And if what we want is you? The question landed like a stone in still water. Isabella set down her fork carefully. I'm not interested in being wanted as some kind of trophy or temporary distraction. Good, Andrew said, because that's not what this is. Then what is it? A transaction, Alessandro said. Clean, simple, beneficial for everyone. But the way he was looking at her didn't feel simple, and the way Andrew's attention never wavered from her face didn't feel clean. I need air, Isabella said, standing. Both men rose, immediately, automatic and synchronized. Alessandro gestured toward the balcony. Through there. The night air hit her like a blessing. Isabella gripped the railing and breathed, trying to organize her thoughts. Behind her, she heard the balcony door close. She didn't turn around. You're afraid. Andrew's voice came from somewhere to her left. "I'm cautious. There's a difference." "Is there?" She turned to find him leaning against the wall, watching her with those smoke-colored eyes. Alessandro stood in the doorway, arms crossed, equally focused. "You're both staring at me like I'm prey," she said. "You're not prey," Alessandro said. "If you were, you wouldn't be standing here negotiating." "Then what am I?" "A choice we're giving you," Andrew said. "Not many people get that from us." Isabella looked between them. Father and son. So similar and so different. Andrew had the calm of someone who'd already won every battle that mattered. Alessandro had the hunger of someone still fighting. Both of them made her pulse race in ways she didn't understand. "Why does it feel like there's more to this than you're telling me?" "Because there always is," Andrew said simply. "But the question you should be asking isn't what we're hiding. It's whether you're brave enough to find out." Alessandro pushed off the doorframe. "Or maybe the question is which one of us you trust more." "I don't trust either of you." "Smart woman," Andrew murmured. That's when Alessandro said it. "Choose one of us for tonight. Spend it talking, getting to know us. My father, or me. Whoever makes you feel safer about this arrangement." Isabella stared at him. "You're joking." "I never joke about business." But his eyes said this wasn't entirely business anymore. Andrew's expression remained neutral, but she saw something flicker there. Interest, maybe. Or challenge. "Can I want both?" The words came out before she could stop them. And that's when everything changed. Later that night. They moved the conversation back inside, but the air felt different now. Charged. Isabella sat on the sofa while Andrew and Alessandro took chairs across from her, and she realized she'd somehow shifted the power dynamic without meaning to. "Tell us about your family," Andrew said. "My mother raised me alone. My father left when I was 6. She worked 3 jobs to give me opportunities she never had." Isabella met his eyes. "I know what it means to sacrifice for family." Alessandro leaned forward. "Is that why you're here? Sacrifice?" "I'm here because I'm smart enough to recognize opportunity when it knocks, even if it comes with complications." "We're not complications," Alessandro said. "We're solutions." "Solutions to what?" Andrew stood, walked to the window. "The world my son and I live in doesn't forgive weakness, doesn't forgive hesitation, but it also doesn't forgive loneliness." The admission surprised her. "You're lonely?" "Everyone is," he said without turning around. "Some of us are just better at hiding it." Alessandro stood too, moving closer to where Isabella sat. He didn't touch her, but he was close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. "My father built everything we have from nothing," he said. "He's the strongest man I know. But strength has a cost." "What cost?" Isabella asked. "Trust, connection, the ability to let someone see you without armor." She looked at Andrew's back, saw the tension in his shoulders. "And you think I can provide that?" "I think you're the first person in years who's looked at us and seen men instead of monsters or opportunities." "I barely know you." "Exactly." Alessandro's smile was sad. "You don't know enough to be afraid yet." Andrew turned from the window. "It's late. Alessandro will take you home." "I can get a cab." "No." The word was firm, final. "While you're considering our offer, your safety is our responsibility." Isabella stood, suddenly, exhausted by the emotional weight of the evening. "I'll think about it." "That's all we ask," Andrew said. But the way he looked at her suggested he was asking for much more than thought. The next morning, Isabella woke to her phone ringing. Unknown number. Again. "Yes?" "It's Alessandro. Have breakfast with me." She sat up, rubbing sleep from her eyes. I said I'd think about it. I know. I'm not calling about the arrangement. I'm calling because I want to see you again. The honesty in his voice made her pause. Why? Because last night, you made me feel something I haven't felt in a long time. What's that? Hope. She met him at a small cafe near her apartment. He was already there, dressed casually in jeans and a black sweater that made him look younger, less intimidating. He stood when she approached, pulled out her chair. You're different this morning, Isabella observed. So are you. Less guarded? It's easier to be guarded in a presidential suite than in a coffee shop. Alessandro smiled, a real smile this time. Fair point. They ordered cappuccinos and pastries, and for the first hour, they just talked about normal things, music, books, the way Florence looked in early morning light. He asked about her studies, genuinely interested in her thesis on Renaissance women artists. They were invisible for so long, Isabella explained, working in their father's or husband's studios, their art attributed to men. But they were there, creating, fighting to be seen. Sounds familiar, Alessandro said quietly. What do you mean? He leaned back, eyes distant. My father built our family's power when I was young. I grew up watching him make impossible decisions, sacrifice everything for our survival. Everyone sees what he created. No one sees what it cost him. What did it cost? His first love. My mother. Alessandro's jaw tightened. She couldn't handle the life. Left when I was 8. He never remarried, never even looked at another woman seriously. Just built walls and called it strength. Isabella's heart ached for the little boy he'd been. And you? I learned to build walls too. Different ones. But walls all the same. Why are you telling me this? He met her eyes. Because you asked my father if you could want both of us, and I need you to understand what that means. Isabella's coffee had gone cold. I wasn't serious. It was a stupid response to a stupid question. Was it? Alessandro reached across the table, not touching her hand, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him. Or was it the most honest thing any of us said last night? Alessandro. My father felt something when he saw you. I know, because I felt it too. And neither of us knows what to do with that. So you want me to? What? Choose between you? No. He pulled back, ran a hand through his hair. I want you to understand that whatever you decide about the arrangement, whatever happens next, it's already more complicated than a business transaction. Isabella stood, needing distance. This is crazy. I met you both 12 hours ago. I know. You can't possibly feel anything real for someone you just met. Can't I? Alessandro stood too. My father knew my mother for 3 days before he decided to marry her. Sometimes recognition is instant. And sometimes it's just attraction, novelty, the thrill of something different. Is that what you think this is? She wanted to say yes, wanted to dismiss it as temporary insanity brought on by wealth and power and the intoxicating attention of 2 beautiful men. But something in her chest was pulling toward Alessandro like gravity. I think I need to go, she said. He didn't stop her. But as she walked away, he called out, Isabella. She turned. My father wants to see you tonight. Alone. Will you go? That evening. The address Alessandro texted her wasn't the hotel. It was a private villa on the outskirts of Florence, surrounded by olive groves and cypress trees. The car that picked her up was different, older, subtle, with a driver who smiled and introduced himself as Marco. Mr. Romano Sr. is expecting you, Marco said. He asked me to tell you this is not business, just conversation. Why should I believe that? Marco met her eyes in the rearview mirror. Because in 30 years of working for him, I've never seen him invite someone to his home. Not once. The villa was beautiful in an understated way. Stone walls covered in climbing roses, arched windows that glowed warm in the twilight, a garden that looked like it had been there for centuries. Andrew met her at the door himself. No guards, no Elena. Just him in dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. "You came," he said. "I'm still deciding if that was smart. Come, I'll show you why it was." He led her through the house, rooms filled with art and books and comfortable furniture that actually looked used, not a showpiece. A home. "This is where you live?" Isabella asked. "When I'm not required to live in the city. This is where I come to remember who I am beneath everything else." They ended up in the kitchen. Andrew gestured for her to sit at a rustic wooden table while he pulled ingredients from the refrigerator. "You cook?" "I find it meditative. My mother taught me. She said a man who can feed himself can survive anything." Isabella watched him move around the kitchen with unexpected grace. "Alessandro told me about her. Your wife." Andrew's hands paused over the cutting board. "What did he tell you?" "That she left. That it broke something in you." He resumed chopping vegetables. Tomatoes, basil, garlic. "My son talks too much." "Does he?" "Bianca left because I couldn't give her a normal life. I was building something larger than us, and she wanted small. Quiet. Safe." Andrew looked up, his eyes finding hers. "I don't blame her. But I also couldn't change who I was. Do you regret it? The life you built?" "Every day. And not at all." He smiled, sad and beautiful. "We contain contradictions, Isabella. All of us." He cooked while they talked. Pasta with fresh tomatoes and basil, simple and perfect. They ate at the kitchen table like normal people, and Isabella forgot for whole minutes that this man controlled half of Florence. "Why did you really bring me here?" she asked. "Because I wanted to see you away from Alessandro, away from the performance. And what do you see?" Andrew set down his fork, studied her with those smoke-colored eyes. A woman who's stronger than she knows, braver than she wants to be, and so beautiful it makes my chest hurt. The air between them thickened. "I'm 23, Isabella said. "You're 55, old enough to be your father. Doesn't that bother you?" "It should." He stood, began clearing the dishes. "Everything about wanting you should bother me. The age difference, the power imbalance, the fact that you walked into my life yesterday, and I can't stop thinking about you." Isabella's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. "Andrew, I know." He turned from the sink, leaned against the counter. "I know it's impossible. I know it's wrong on every level that matters. But when you asked if you could want both of us, something in me answered yes." She stood, walked toward him without deciding to. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if you choose my son, I'll step back. If you choose me, he'll understand. But if there's any part of you that meant what you said, that wants both of us, I need to know." "Why?" "Because for the first time in 20 years, I'm willing to share something I want. But only with him. Only with Alessandro." Isabella stopped 2 feet away from him. "That's insane, I know. But my family has never done anything the normal way." The sound of a car in the driveway made them both turn. Moments later, Alessandro walked into the kitchen, stopped when he saw them. "Am I interrupting?" "No," Andrew said. At the same time, Isabella said, "Yes." Alessandro smiled. "I brought wine. Thought we could all talk, really talk, about what happens next." Isabella looked between them, father and son, so different but united in whatever this was becoming. "You planned this." "We did," Andrew admitted, "because we decided something today." "What?" Alessandro moved closer, his eyes intense. "That we're done playing games. That we want you. Both of us. and we're willing to figure out what that means together. That's not how relationships work, Isabella protested, but her voice was weak. Normal relationships, no. Andrew moved too, and suddenly she was bracketed between them, heat on both sides. But there's nothing normal about any of this. I barely know you. Then let us fix that, Alessandro said. 6 months, like we proposed, but not as an arrangement, as a courtship. A courtship? Both of you? Both of us, Andrew confirmed. No pressure, no expectations beyond getting to know each other. And at the end, you choose. Him or me. Or neither. But not both, Isabella said. That's what you're really saying. Eventually, I have to choose. Alessandro's expression softened. Eventually. But not tonight. They opened the wine, sat in Andrew's living room with windows overlooking the garden, and they talked, really talked, about impossible things, about what it would mean, how it would work, the rules they'd need, the honesty required. I won't be a secret, Isabella said. I won't be something you hide. We don't want you to be, Andrew assured her. Whatever this becomes, it's real, visible, chosen. And if people judge? Alessandro laughed. Let them. They judge us anyway. As midnight approached, Isabella knew she should leave, should go home and think clearly without 2 pairs of eyes watching her like she was precious and impossible. But when she stood, Andrew stood, too. Stay. I can't. You can. Alessandro rose, moved closer. Nothing has to happen. We have spare rooms. Stay because you want to, because you're tired of running from this. I'm not running. Then prove it, Andrew said softly. She stayed. Andrew gave her a room on the 2nd floor, beautiful and comfortable. Alessandro's room was next door. Andrew's suite was down the hall. They said goodnight with careful distance, but Isabella felt the pull of them even through walls. She lay in the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling, and wondered what she'd gotten herself into. 2 men, father and son, both wanting her, both offering something she'd never dared to dream of, being chosen, being cherished, being worth fighting for. But at what cost? And when the time came to choose, how would she ever decide between the safety of Andrew's steady strength and the fire of Alessandro's young passion? 3 days later, they fell into a rhythm. Mornings with Alessandro, coffee, walks through Florence, easy conversation that grew deeper each day. Afternoons at the university, studying, trying to maintain some semblance of her normal life. Evenings at the villa with Andrew, cooking together, talking about art and philosophy, and all the things that made them human beneath the power. Some nights, Alessandro joined them. Those were the hardest nights, the best nights, when the 3 of them fit together like pieces of something larger. Isabella found herself laughing more, opening up more, trusting more, and terrified by how much she was starting to feel. 1 week later, Isabella stood in front of her closet, staring at clothes that suddenly felt inadequate. Tonight was different. Tonight, Andrew and Alessandro were taking her to a family dinner, real family. Alessandro's cousins, his uncle, people who mattered in their world. You're nervous. Alessandro's voice came from her doorway. He'd started showing up unannounced, and she'd stopped being surprised. I'm terrified, she admitted. What if they hate me? He crossed the room, turned her to face him. They won't. But even if they did, it wouldn't matter. You're not here for them. Then who am I here for? Alessandro's thumb brushed her cheek. Us. Only us. The restaurant was exclusive, private, the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Andrew met them at the entrance, his eyes moving over Isabella, with an intensity that made her breath catch. You look beautiful, he said simply. She'd worn a deep blue dress, fitted but modest, her natural curls framing her face. "Thank you." He offered his arm. Alessandro took her other side. Together, they walked into a room filled with the Romano family. The reactions were immediate and varied. An older man with Andrew's eyes stood first, his gaze moving between the three of them with sharp intelligence. A younger woman whispered something to the man beside her. Two men in their 30s watched with careful neutrality. "Everyone," Andrew said, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "This is Isabella Carter. She's important to Alessandro and me. You'll treat her accordingly." The statement was simple. The implication was clear. The older man smiled. "Uncle Giacomo," he introduced himself, taking Isabella's hand. "Welcome. It's been a long time since my nephew brought anyone to family dinner." "Never," Alessandro corrected. "I've never brought anyone." Dinner was an education in family dynamics. Giacomo asked thoughtful questions about her studies. The cousins, Francesca and Lorenzo, were friendly but cautious. The two older men, introduced as business associates, said little, but watched everything. Isabella found herself seated between Andrew and Alessandro, their presence a constant warmth on either side. Under the table, Andrew's hand found hers briefly, squeezed reassurance. Across from her, Alessandro's eyes never left her face for long. "So," Francesca said, her smile sharp, "how did you meet my uncle and cousin?" "They made me an offer I almost refused," Isabella said honestly. "Almost? I'm still deciding if accepting was brave or foolish." Giacomo laughed, a deep, booming sound. "I like her. She's honest." As the evening progressed, Isabella began to relax. These were powerful people, yes. Dangerous people, probably. But they were also just a family. Complicated, messy, bound by loyalty and history. She watched Andrew interact with his brother, saw the deep affection beneath their formal words, watched Alessandro joke with his cousins, younger and lighter than he was with her. "You're seeing them differently now," Giacomo said quietly, leaning toward her. "Aren't you?" "Yes." "Good. They need someone who sees all of them, not just the armor." Isabella met his eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've watched my nephew close himself off for 20 years. And I've watched Alessandro become exactly like him. Then you walked into their lives, and suddenly, they're both alive again." After dinner, they moved to a private terrace. The night was warm, Florence spread out below them like scattered jewels. Isabella stood at the railing, aware of Andrew and Alessandro talking quietly behind her. Francesca appeared at her side. "Can I give you some advice?" "I have a feeling you will regardless." The other woman smiled. "Fair. Here it is. Whatever you're doing with them, be careful. Not because they'll hurt you on purpose, but because they're so afraid of being hurt themselves that they might destroy something beautiful before it can become real." "How do you know?" "Because I've known them my whole life, and I've never seen them look at anyone the way they look at you." The drive back to the villa was quiet. Isabella sat between them in the back seat, exhausted emotionally, but in a good way. Andrew's hand rested on the seat behind her. Alessandro's arm brushed hers every time the car turned. "You were perfect tonight," Andrew said. "I was nervous. It didn't show." Alessandro shifted, and suddenly his hand was on her knee. Not sexual, just there, grounding. "They loved you. Your cousin thinks I'm going to break your hearts." Both men went still. "Francesca talks too much," Alessandro muttered. "She's not wrong, though." Isabella turned to face Andrew. "Is she? You're both afraid." Andrew met her eyes, terrified. The admission hung in the air. "Of what?" Isabella pressed. "Of this feeling real," Alessandro said. "Of letting ourselves have it, and then watching it disappear. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now. I say it now, and I'll say it tomorrow and the day after. Isabella took Alessandro's hand, then reached for Andrew's. I'm not your mother. I'm not going to run because things get complicated. But I need you both to stop waiting for me to leave and start believing I might stay. Later that night, they ended up in Andrew's study, a room Isabella had never been in before. Books lined the walls. A fire crackled in the fireplace. It felt intimate, sacred somehow. Wine? Andrew offered. Please. He poured 3 glasses while Alessandro built up the fire. They moved around each other with practiced ease, and Isabella wondered how many years of shared life created that kind of unconscious coordination. Tell me something real, she said once they'd settled. Something you've never told anyone. Alessandro and Andrew exchanged glances. You first, Andrew said to his son. Alessandro stared into his wine. I almost left. 3 years ago. I had a plan to disappear. Start over somewhere. My name meant nothing. I even had the tickets bought. What stopped you? Isabella asked. Him? Alessandro gestured to his father. He found the tickets, didn't say a word. Just sat in my room until I came home that night. Asked me one question. What are you running from? And I realized I wasn't running from our life. I was running from the loneliness of living it without ever letting anyone in. Isabella's heart ached. And now? Now I'm trying to be brave enough to let you in. She turned to Andrew. Your turn. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I dream about your mother still. Every night for 20 years she's there, accusing me of choosing power over love, telling me I destroyed our family. And every morning I wake up, knowing she was right. Papa, Alessandro started. No. Andrew held up a hand. It's true. I made choices that cost me the only woman I'd ever loved. I told myself it was necessary, that the family's survival mattered more than my happiness. But the truth is, I was afraid. Afraid that if I chose her, I'd lose everything else. So I lost her instead. Isabella set down her glass, moved to kneel in front of Andrew's chair. Look at me. He did, his smoke-colored eyes shimmering with unshed emotion. You're not losing me, and you're not choosing between me and your life. I'm asking you, both of you, to let me be part of that life. All of it. The good, and the complicated, and the dangerous. You don't know what you're asking, Andrew said roughly. Then show me. Stop protecting me from the truth, and show me who you really are. Alessandro moved closer, his hand on Isabella's shoulder. She's right. We keep trying to show her only the safe parts, but that's not real. Because I'm afraid the real parts will scare her away, Andrew admitted. I'm not scared of you, Isabella said. I'm scared you'll never trust me enough to let me see you. Something broke in Andrew's expression. He pulled Isabella up, his hands cupping her face with a gentleness that belied his strength. You want real? Here's real. I'm falling in love with you. Have been since the moment you walked into that hotel suite and looked at me like I was just a man. And it terrifies me because I'm too old for you. Too damaged, too. Isabella kissed him. It was soft, tentative, over almost before it began. But the effect was devastating. Andrew froze, his eyes wide with shock and hunger. Too old? Isabella whispered against his mouth. Too damaged? Or just too afraid to believe someone could choose you anyway? He kissed her back, deeper this time, his hands tangled in her hair, and she felt 20 years of loneliness pouring into that kiss. When they broke apart, Alessandro was watching them with an expression Isabella couldn't read. Sorry, she said breathlessly. I should have. Don't apologize. Alessandro's voice was rough. Never apologize for that. He moved closer, and suddenly Isabella was between them again, surrounded by heat and want and something deeper than physical desire. Alessandro's hand traced her jaw, turning her face to his. "My turn?" he asked. She nodded, unable to speak. His kiss was different from his father's. More urgent, less controlled. Like he'd been, holding back for too long and finally had permission to let go. Isabella melted into it, into him, even as she felt Andrew's hand steady on her waist. When Alessandro pulled back, all three of them were breathing hard. "This is insane," Isabella said. "Yes," Andrew agreed. "Completely," Alessandro added. "But real. So real it hurts," Andrew said. They stood there, the three of them connected in ways Isabella didn't fully understand yet. The fire crackled, the night pressed against the windows, and something shifted in the room, in her chest, in the air between them. "I need to tell you something," Isabella said, "before this goes any further." Both men tensed. "I've never," she took a breath, "I've never let anyone get this close before. I've had relationships, but I always kept part of myself locked away. Because my father left, and I learned early that people abandon you. That love isn't safe." Alessandro's hand found hers. "We're not your father." "I know. Logically, I know. But there's this part of me that keeps waiting for you to realize I'm not worth the complication." Andrew turned her to face him fully. "Listen to me. You are worth every complication, every difficult conversation, every moment of fear or doubt. You are worth it, Isabella. Please believe that." "I'm trying." "Then let us help you." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "Let us prove it to you every day until you believe it yourself." She wanted to. God, she wanted to so badly it scared her. But fear was a powerful thing, and trust was a muscle she'd let atrophy for too long. "I need time," she said. "Not away from you. Just time to process this, to believe it's real." "Take all the time you need," Alessandro said. "We're not going anywhere." The next morning, Isabella woke in the guest room to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee drifting up from downstairs. She dressed quickly, followed the scent to the kitchen. Andrew stood at the stove, still in sleep pants and a t-shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. He turned when she entered, smiled. "Good morning." "Morning." She accepted the coffee he handed her. "Where's Alessandro?" "Business meeting in the city. He'll be back this afternoon." They were alone. The realization sent a flutter through her chest. "Sit," Andrew said, gesturing to the table. "I'm making breakfast." Isabella watched him work, confident, efficient, completely comfortable in this domestic space. It was such a contrast to the powerful man who commanded rooms full of dangerous people. "You're staring," he said, without turning around. "You're different here, in your home." "I can be myself here. No performance, no armor." He plated eggs and bread, brought everything to the table. "I want you to know this version of me, not just the one the world sees." They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Andrew said, "About last night. Do you regret it?" "No, but I'm worried we pushed too fast, that we overwhelmed you." Isabella set down her fork. "Can I ask you something honestly?" "Always." "If I told you I could only choose one of you, that I can't do this three-way dynamic, what would you do?" Andrew was quiet for a long moment. "I'd step back. Let Alessandro have you. He's young. He has time to build a life with you that I can't give." "That's not what I asked." He met her eyes. "If you chose him, I'd be heartbroken. But I'd survive it. If you chose me, I'd spend every day making sure you never regretted it." "But Isabella," he reached across the table, took her hand. "I don't want you to choose yet. I want you to have time with both of us, to really know us. Because whatever you decide will change all our lives, and you deserve to make that choice with full information. And if I choose neither, then we'll let you go. With money, with support, with our protection still intact. But free. The answer was so honest it made her chest hurt. What if I don't want to choose? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Andrew's grip on her hand tightened. What do you mean? I mean, Isabella stood, needing to move. What if the reason this feels so right is because it's both of you? What if choosing between you breaks something that works as three? That's not how the world works, Isabella. I know. But when has your family ever cared about how the world works? Andrew stood too, crossed to where she stood by the window. You're serious? I don't know. Maybe. I just know that when I'm with both of you, I feel more myself than I've ever felt. And the idea of losing either one makes me want to run away from all of it. Then don't run. He turned her to face him. And don't decide anything today. Just be here. With me. Let me show you what it would be like. What would be like? Choosing me. His voice was low, intense. Let me have today. Tomorrow, Alessandro can have his turn, and then we'll talk about all the impossible possibilities. Isabella knew she should say no, should maintain distance, think clearly. But Andrew was looking at her like she was the answer to questions he'd stopped asking years ago, and she couldn't resist. Okay, she whispered. Show me. He took her to a small art gallery in Florence that wasn't open to the public, made a call, and the curator appeared to let them in personally. For 2 hours, Isabella walked through rooms filled with Renaissance masterpieces, with Andrew beside her, listening to her observations, asking thoughtful questions, seeing the art through her eyes. How did you arrange this? She asked. I own the building. The gallery is a passion project, preserving art that might otherwise be lost. You never mentioned. I don't tell many people. In my world, passion is seen as weakness. He stopped in front of a painting by Artemisia Gentileschi. But you understand. You see beauty as necessity, not luxury. They had lunch at a tiny restaurant tucked away in a side street. No bodyguards, no phones. Just 2 people sharing pasta and wine and conversation that ranged from philosophy to their favorite films. I can't remember the last time I did this, Andrew admitted. Did what? Just existed. No agenda, no business, just being present with someone. Isabella reached across the table, took his hand. Thank you for sharing this with me. Thank you for wanting to see it. The afternoon faded into evening. They walked along the Arno River, watching sunset paint the water gold and pink. Andrew's arm was around her shoulders, and Isabella let herself lean into his strength. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Do you really think this can work? The 3 of us? Andrew was quiet for a long time. I don't know. I've spent my life making impossible things happen through will and strategy. But this... He stopped walking, turned to face her. This isn't business. This is hearts and feelings and variables I can't control. So I don't know if it can work. I only know I'm willing to try if you are. They returned to the villa as stars emerged. Alessandro's car was in the driveway. He's home, Isabella said unnecessarily. Are you nervous? A little. Is that stupid? Andrew kissed her forehead. No, it's honest. Come on. Alessandro was in the living room, tie discarded, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired, but brightened when they walked in. How was your day? He asked. Perfect, Isabella said. Something passed between father and son. Understanding, maybe, or agreement. Good. Alessandro stood, moved toward them. Because tomorrow is mine, Andrew nodded. Yours. And Isabella realized they'd planned this, We're courting her separately while somehow remaining united. It should have felt manipulative. Instead, it felt like care. The following day, Alessandro took her to the countryside. They rode horses through olive groves, had a picnic by a stream, talked about everything and nothing. He was lighter away from the city, younger, with a laugh that came easier. I used to come here as a kid, he told her, when the family business got too heavy. This place reminded me there was more to life than power and responsibility. Do you resent it? The business? Sometimes. But it's also given me purpose. Family. It made me who I am. Isabella studied him. Who are you, Alessandro? Really? He pulled her down to sit beside him on the blanket. I'm someone who's been lonely my whole life, who learned to perform strength instead of feeling it, who's terrified that if I let myself love you the way I want to, you'll see through the performance and realize there's nothing underneath. That's not true, isn't it? His eyes were dark with old pain. I've spent 30 years becoming a perfect heir, the dutiful son, the strong leader. But I've never just been Alessandro. Never let anyone see the parts of me that are uncertain, or afraid, or desperately wanting something I can't control. Isabella touched his face. I see those parts, and they're not nothing. They're everything. He kissed her then, pulling her close with a desperation that spoke of years of holding back. Isabella kissed him back, pouring reassurance into every touch. When they broke apart, Alessandro rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to share you, even with my father, even though I love him more than anyone. The idea of you choosing him kills me. And the idea of choosing between you kills me, Isabella admitted. Then what do we do? Figure it out together, all three of us. No more separate days, no more dividing time, just honesty. All of us in the same room talking about this impossible thing. That night, they gathered in Andrew's study again. Their space, Isabella was starting to think. She sat between them on the sofa, hands clasped in her lap. I need to say something, she began. And I need you both to really hear me. Both men leaned forward, attentive. I care about both of you. More than I thought possible in such a short time. And I'm not ready to choose. Not because I'm indecisive, but because choosing feels like losing something I've barely begun to understand. Isabella, Andrew started. Let me finish. Please. She took a breath. I know the world doesn't work the way I'm about to suggest. I know it's unconventional and complicated, and maybe impossible. But I need to ask, what if I don't choose? What if we find a way to make this work as three? Silence filled the room. Alessandro spoke first. You mean, I mean all of us, together. Not me bouncing between you. Not some secret arrangement, but a real relationship. The three of us. Andrew stood, paced to the window. That's not. People don't. Your family has never cared about what people do, Isabella countered. You told me that yourself. This is different. Why? Because it's me? Because it's your son? She stood too, moved to face him. Or because it scares you how right it feels. Andrew turned, his expression torn. It scares me because I don't know how to share you without destroying what we've built. Because I don't know if my heart is big enough to watch you love my son and not feel like I'm losing you. Then we learn, Isabella said, together. Because I feel the same fear about you two. But I also feel something else. Rightness. Like we're supposed to figure this out. Alessandro joined them. She's right. I feel it too. This pull toward both of you. This sense that we're stronger as three than we'd ever be as two. This is insane, Andrew said, but his voice was weak. Probably, Alessandro agreed. But when has that ever stopped us? Andrew looked between them, his son and this woman who'd upended his carefully controlled world. If we do this, if we even try this, there have to be rules. Honesty, communication, no secrets, no jealousy left to fester. Agreed, Isabella said, and we take it slow. Figure out what this even means before we commit to something we can't take back. Okay, he took a breath. And if it doesn't work, if someone gets hurt or this becomes toxic, we end it cleanly. No drawn-out suffering. Deal. Alessandro held out his hand. Andrew took it. Then Isabella's. And they stood there, the three of them connected by touch and hope and fear. This is really happening, Isabella said softly. Apparently, Andrew murmured. We're going to need to talk to Giacomo, Alessandro said. He'll need to know. The family will need. Not yet, Andrew interrupted. First we figure out what this is between us. Then we think about the world outside. Isabella nodded. That made sense. But as she looked at both of them, felt the weight of what they were attempting, she couldn't shake the feeling that the world outside wouldn't wait patiently while they sorted their hearts. And she was right. 3 days later, the first threat came via text. Unknown number. A photo of Isabella leaving the university, taken from across the street. The message: interesting choice for the Romanos. How long until she disappears like the last one? Alessandro's face went white when he saw it. Papa. They were at breakfast, all three of them comfortable now in their new rhythm. Andrew took the phone, his expression hardening into something dangerous. Who sent this? Isabella asked. I don't know, yet. Andrew stood, made a call. Marco, I need a trace on this number, and I need security on Isabella. Now. Within an hour, 2 bodyguards appeared, professional, quiet, but clearly armed. Isabella's stomach knotted. This is because of me, she said. Someone's targeting you through me. Someone's testing us, Andrew corrected. Seeing if we'll scare easily. They've miscalculated. Alessandro paced. We should have been more careful. Should have kept her hidden until what? Isabella interrupted. Until you were sure I was worth the risk. I'm not going to hide. You don't understand what these people are capable of? Then explain it to me. She stood, frustrated. Stop protecting me from the truth and tell me what we're really dealing with. Andrew and Alessandro exchanged looks. Then Andrew nodded. My family controls shipping, imports, exports throughout the Mediterranean, he said. Legal and otherwise. We have rivals who would love to see us weakened. Enemies who've been waiting for an opportunity to strike. You, he gestured to Isabella. You're the first weakness I've shown in 20 years. Same for me, Alessandro added. We've kept our personal lives separate from business deliberately. But now they know you care about me, and caring is leverage. Exactly. Isabella sat down slowly, the reality of what she'd walked into finally hitting her. So what do? We show strength, Andrew said. We go public. Make it clear you're under our protection, that anyone who touches you answers to both of us. Like the dinner with your family, but bigger. Much bigger. Alessandro crouched in front of her chair. Isabella, this changes things. Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be marked as ours. Protected, yes, but also a target. Are you asking me to leave? I'm asking if you're sure you want to stay. She looked between them, these 2 men who'd somehow become essential to her breathing. I'm sure. The Romano family's annual charity gala was in 3 days. Hundreds of guests. Media coverage. The perfect stage to make their statement. Isabella stood in a designer boutique, surrounded by more dresses than she'd seen in her lifetime, while Andrew and Alessandro watched from comfortable chairs with expressions that said, They were enjoying this far too much. "The blue one," Alessandro said. "The red," Andrew countered. "I'm standing right here," Isabella reminded them. "I can choose my own dress." Both men smiled, identical and devastating. "Of course you can," Andrew said. "But we're allowed to have opinions." She tried on both. The blue was elegant, sophisticated. The red was bold, dramatic. In the end, she chose neither. Picked a deep emerald green that made her skin glow and her curves impossible to ignore. When she stepped out of the dressing room, both men went silent. "This one," she said. "Yes," they agreed in unison. The seamstress took measurements, while Isabella tried not to think about the cost. Andrew handled the payment without blinking, then surprised her by buying both the blue and red dresses as well. "For later," he said when she protested. "Later. Other events, other occasions. You're going to need more than one dress in our world." The casual assumption of a future made her chest warm. They spent the next 2 days preparing. Alessandro coached her on names and faces, who to charm, who to avoid, who mattered in their complicated world. Andrew taught her the subtle art of reading a room, identifying threats, staying safe in crowds. "You make it sound like a battlefield," Isabella said. "It is," Andrew replied. "Just fought with smiles and small talk instead of weapons. That's comforting." He pulled her close, kissed her temple. "You'll be between us all night. Nothing will touch you." The night of the gala, Isabella stood in front of the mirror in her room at the villa, barely recognizing herself. The dress fit perfectly. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair fell in soft curls down her back. She looked like she belonged in their world. A knock on the door. "Come in." Alessandro entered, stopped, stared. "Wow. Too much? Not enough." He crossed the room, pulled a velvet box from his pocket. "We wanted you to have this." Inside was a necklace, emeralds and diamonds that probably cost more than her degree. "I can't." "You can. You will." He lifted it from the box, moved behind her to clasp it, around her neck. His fingers brushed her skin, and she shivered. "You're ours, Isabella. Let the world see it." Andrew was waiting downstairs, devastating in a black tux. His eyes tracked every inch of her as she descended the stairs. "Perfect," he murmured. The drive to the venue was quiet, all 3 of them wrapped in thoughts and anticipation. Isabella sat between them again, their presence anchoring her. "Whatever happens tonight," Alessandro said, "we're together. Remember that." "Together," she repeated. Andrew took her hand. "No matter what." The gala was overwhelming. Chandeliers dripped crystal. Champagne flowed. Beautiful people in expensive clothes filled every corner of the grand ballroom. And everywhere Isabella looked, people were staring. At her. At them. At the statement they were making just by existing together. Andrew's hand rested on the small of her back. Alessandro stayed close to her other side. They moved through the crowd as a unit, and Isabella felt the power of it, how their combined presence shifted the energy of every space they entered. "Mr. Romano," a silver-haired man approached, his eyes calculating. "Who is your lovely companion?" "Isabella Carter," Andrew said smoothly. "She's very important to my son and me." The phrasing was deliberate. The man's eyebrows rose. "I see. Charmed, Miss Carter." The pattern repeated throughout the night. Introductions, careful questions. Isabella's responses vetted by the way Andrew and Alessandro reacted to each person. Some were genuine, others were sharks smelling blood. Francesca appeared, stunning in silver. "You're causing quite a stir." "That was the point," Alessandro said. "Just be careful. Not everyone here wishes you well." She leaned closer to Isabella, particularly the woman in black near the bar. Victoria Rossi. She's been trying to sink her claws into Alessandro for years. Isabella followed her gaze. The woman in question was beautiful, cold, watching them with undisguised hostility. Noted, Isabella said. Dancing started after dinner. Andrew claimed the first dance, pulling Isabella onto the floor with a confidence that made her pulse race. "You're doing wonderfully," he murmured as they swayed. "I'm terrified." "It doesn't show." His hand splayed across her back, holding her close. "You look like you were born to this." "I wasn't. I'm a scholarship student from Chicago who works in a cafe." "You're the woman who walked into my life and changed everything." He spun her, pulled her back. "That's all that matters." The song ended. Alessandro appeared immediately, offering his hand. "My turn." The transition was seamless. Isabella moved from father to son, from one pair of strong arms to another, and the rightness of it overwhelmed her. "People are talking," Alessandro said. "Let them." "You're not worried?" "About gossip?" "No." "About actual threats?" "Yes. But you two promised to keep me safe." His arms tightened. "We will. With our lives if necessary. Let's hope it doesn't come to that." She danced with both of them throughout the night, traded back and forth, always between them. The message was clear to anyone watching. She belonged to both. They were sharing her openly, unapologetically. Some people whispered, others stared, but no one dared comment directly, until Victoria Rossi cut in. "May I?" She directed the question at Alessandro, but her eyes were on Isabella, cold and assessing. Alessandro hesitated, then nodded. Andrew stepped in smoothly, claiming Isabella, while his son was pulled into conversation by the other woman. "She doesn't like me," Isabella observed. "She doesn't like anyone she perceives as competition." Andrew's jaw was tight as he watched his son dance with Victoria. "She's been circling our family for years, trying to secure a position through marriage. To Alessandro? To whichever one of us she could hook first." Jealousy flared hot in Isabella's chest. "And you? Never. She's beautiful but cruel. I've seen her destroy people for sport." His eyes found hers. "You have nothing to worry about." "I'm not worried. I'm territorial." Andrew smiled, real and warm. "Good. So am I." The music shifted. Alessandro extracted himself from Victoria, returned to their orbit with visible relief. The three of them gravitated toward the terrace, needing air and space from prying eyes. "That was uncomfortable," Alessandro muttered. "What did she want?" Isabella asked. "To remind me what I'm giving up by choosing you." He took Isabella's hand, as if there was ever a choice. Andrew moved to the railing, scanning the gardens below with the automatic vigilance of someone always watching for threats. "We should leave soon. We've made our statement." "Agreed." Alessandro checked his phone, frowned. "Marco just texted. There's been activity around the villa. Unfamiliar vehicles on the road." The easy warmth of moments ago evaporated. Andrew was immediately in motion, making calls, issuing orders. Within minutes, they were in the car, security flanking them, heading back to the villa at speeds that made Isabella's heart race. "What's happening?" she asked. "Probably nothing," Alessandro said, but his hand was tight on hers. "But we don't take chances with your safety." Andrew's expression was carved stone. "If someone's moving against us, tonight was the perfect opportunity. Everyone knowing we were at the gala." "You think someone went after the villa?" "I think we're about to find out." The gates to the property stood open. Wrong. They were always closed, always guarded. The car slowed, and Andrew's hand went to something under his jacket. A weapon, Isabella realized with a jolt. "Stay in the car," he ordered. "Papa. Both of you. Stay here." He was out before either could argue, moving toward the house with lethal grace. Alessandro pulled Isabella close. It's okay. He knows what he's doing. This is because of me, because people know you care about me. This is because we have enemies who are cowards. Don't take their actions on yourself. Tense minutes passed. Then Andrew reappeared, his expression grim. The house is clear. But someone was here. They left a message. They entered together, guards sweeping ahead. In the living room, spray painted across the wall in red. Choose your family, or choose the girl. You can't have both. Isabella felt like she'd been punched. Oh, God. It's just words, Alessandro said, but his face was white. Andrew was already on the phone, ordering the entire property swept for devices or dangers. This ends tonight. I'm calling everyone in. If they want war, they'll have it. Who are they? Isabella asked. I have suspicions. We'll know for certain by morning. They spent the night in a safe house on the other side of the city, locked down, surrounded by armed guards, the reality of their situation undeniable. Isabella couldn't sleep. She sat in the living room, staring at nothing, until Andrew appeared beside her. You should rest. How can I? People are threatening you because of me. They're threatening you to get to us. There's a difference. He sat, pulled her against his side. We knew this was coming. The moment we decided to keep you, we knew someone would try to use you against us. Maybe I should leave, go back to America, remove the target. Andrew's arm tightened. Over my dead body. Alessandro joined them, settled on Isabella's other side. Can't sleep either. Too much adrenaline. Yeah. They sat in silence, the three of them, drawing comfort from proximity. Eventually, Andrew spoke. There's something you both need to know. The threats aren't just coming from outside the family. There are people within our organization who see Isabella as a weakness, who think I'm compromising everything for... He stopped. For what? Isabella asked. For love, Alessandro finished quietly. They think he's going soft. Are you? Isabella turned to face Andrew. His eyes met hers, unflinching. If protecting what I love is soft, then yes, I'm the softest man alive. Morning brought information. Marco and Giacomo arrived together, their faces grave. The Constantinos, Giacomo said without preamble. They're making a move, using the girl as leverage to destabilize us. The Greeks? Alessandro's expression darkened. I thought we had a truce. We did, until they decided they wanted our shipping routes. They're using Isabella to create internal conflict, make us look weak. Andrew stood, paced. Then we show them they miscalculated. We double security on Isabella. We shore up our alliances, and we send a message they can't ignore. What message? Isabella asked. That she's not negotiable, not a weakness. She's family, and we protect family with everything we have. 1 week later, the retaliation was swift and thorough. Andrew and Alessandro worked 18-hour days, shoring up their empire, sending messages through channels Isabella didn't want to fully understand. The Constantinos learned quickly that targeting Isabella had only strengthened the Romanos' resolve. But the cost was visible. Both men looked exhausted, stretched thin. Isabella tried to help however she could, managing the household, coordinating with Marco, staying out of the way when business demanded. She missed them, missed the easy mornings, the long evenings, the sense of being together instead of constantly under siege. One night, she found Andrew in his study, papers spread across his desk, a glass of whiskey barely touched at his elbow. You need to sleep, she said from the doorway. I need to finish this. It'll still be there tomorrow. He looked up, and the exhaustion in his eyes made her hurt. Will you? Will we all still be here tomorrow, or will someone find a new way to tear this apart? Isabella crossed the room, gently closed the folder he was reading. We're still here. We're not going anywhere. But we can't be strong for each other if we're running ourselves into the ground. I don't know how to stop. Don't know how to turn off the part of me that sees threats everywhere. She moved behind his chair, began massaging his shoulders. The tension there was incredible. Muscles knotted from stress and fear. Then let me help, she said softly. Let me carry some of this with you. You shouldn't have to. That's not your decision to make. We're in this together, remember? All three of us. Andrew's head dropped forward as her hands worked the tension free. I'm terrified of losing you. I know. If something happened to you because of me, because of this life. It won't. You can't promise that. Neither can you. But we can choose to trust, to believe we're stronger together than we are apart. Alessandro appeared in the doorway, took in the scene with a small smile. Room for one more? Always, Isabella said. He joined them, perching on the edge of the desk. For a moment, they just existed together, tired, scared, but united. The Constantinos backed down, Alessandro said finally. We got word an hour ago. They're withdrawing their people, issuing a formal apology. Andrew's eyes opened. You're certain? Giacomo confirmed it. We won. The relief was palpable. Isabella felt it rush through all three of them like a wave. They'd survived. They'd protected each other. They'd proven the threat makers wrong. So what now? Isabella asked. Now we live, Andrew said. Really live, without constantly looking over our shoulders. At least for a while, Alessandro added, until the next crisis. Optimistic, realistic. But he was smiling. Come on, let's go home. The real home. Back at the villa, the graffiti had been cleaned and the security had been upgraded. But more than that, the villa felt different. Lighter. Like a weight had lifted from the very walls. They stayed up late, just talking. About everything and nothing. About the future they might build together. About what this strange relationship even meant. I want to tell people, Isabella said. Really tell them. Not just imply or suggest. I want them to know I'm with both of you. The world won't understand, Alessandro warned. I don't care, do you? He looked at his father. Andrew looked back. Something passed between them. No, Andrew said finally. I don't care. Let them judge. We know the truth. Which is that this works, that we work, that three isn't a weakness, it's our strength. 2 months later, they fell into a rhythm that felt less like an arrangement and more like a life. Isabella officially moved into the villa. Her things mingled with theirs. Her presence became essential to the household's functioning. She continued her studies, but now with the security and support to really excel. Andrew helped her research, his knowledge of art history surprisingly deep. Alessandro challenged her thinking, pushed her to defend her arguments, and slowly, quietly, she fell completely in love with both of them. It was terrifying and exhilarating, and more real than anything she'd experienced before. Loving two men, being loved by both, learning to navigate jealousy and insecurity, while also discovering depths of joy she hadn't known existed. Some nights, she fell asleep between them, sandwiched in safety and warmth. Other nights, she stayed with one while the other traveled for business. But they always came back together, always reconnected. The family accepted it gradually. Giacomo had laughed when they finally told him directly. About time you admitted it, he'd said. We all knew months ago. Francesca threw Isabella a party, welcomed her officially into the family. Lorenzo and the cousins treated her like she'd always been there. And Victoria Rossi mysteriously relocated to Milan. But happiness made Isabella nervous. She kept waiting for the other shoe, to drop, for reality to intrude, for someone to decide this couldn't last. "You're overthinking again," Alessandro said one morning, finding her on the terrace. "I'm allowed to overthink. This is unprecedented." "So?" "We're writing new rules. Rules that say a woman can love two men, that they can both love her back, that father and son can share." She stopped, the words still strange on her tongue. Alessandro turned her to face him. "Yes, rules that say all of that. Because it's our life, Isabella, not anyone else's." Andrew joined them, coffee in hand. "What are we discussing?" "Whether this is sustainable long-term," Isabella said. "Ah, that conversation." He set down his cup. "Here's what I know. I'm 55 years old. I've built an empire, survived wars, lost love, and found it again. And in all those years, I've never felt as complete as I do right now, with both of you." "Papa, let me finish." Andrew's eyes moved between them. "Alessandro, you're my son, my legacy, the best thing I've ever created. And Isabella, you've given me back something I thought I'd lost forever. The ability to hope for joy instead of just power." "So what are you saying?" Isabella asked. "I'm saying I want this. Want you. Want all of it. Permanently." The word hung in the air. "Permanently how?" Alessandro's voice was careful. "However we define it. Marriage, if that's possible. Legal protections, definitely. A commitment that tells the world this isn't temporary or experimental. It's our family." Isabella's heart was pounding. "You want to marry me? I want you to be my wife, and he gestured to Alessandro. "In whatever way makes sense. I want our lives legally entwined so that no one can take you from us. So that you're protected if something happens to me." "Nothing's going to happen to you," Alessandro said fiercely. "Eventually, something will. I'm not immortal. And when that day comes, I want to know Isabella is cared for. That you both are together, legally bound, in ways that can't be contested." Isabella couldn't speak. The enormity of what he was offering, what they both were offering, overwhelmed her. Alessandro took her hand. "We've talked about this, made plans. There are ways to structure it legally that protect all of us. It's unconventional, yes, but it's real." "You want this too?" she asked him. "More than anything, I want you as my wife. Want my father's blessing and participation. Want to build a life where we're not hiding or apologizing, just living." "This is insane." "Probably," Andrew agreed. "But is it wrong?" Isabella looked between them. These two men who'd somehow become her entire world. Different, but complementary. Father and son, united in love for her and for each other. "No," she whispered. "It's not wrong. It's perfect." The wedding was planned carefully. It was a private ceremony at the villa. Just family and close friends. Legally, Isabella would marry Alessandro. His name, his legal protections. But the ceremony itself included Andrew in every meaningful way. Giacomo officiated, his voice steady and sure as he spoke about family and love, and the courage it took to define both on your own terms. Isabella wore white, a simple, elegant dress that made both men's eyes shine with unshed tears. Alessandro said his vows first, his voice breaking with emotion. "I promise to love you, honor you, protect you, to share you with the man I love most in this world, to build a life with you that's bigger than fear or convention." Then Andrew, unofficial but essential. "I promise to cherish you, support you, stand beside you and my son as we write our own rules, to love you for as long as I'm breathing, and to trust that what we're building is worth every challenge." Isabella's vows came from the heart. "I came to Italy looking for education, and found family instead. Found love in places I never expected. Found the courage to want impossible things. I promise to love both of you, equally and completely. To honor what we're building. And to never let fear make me run from the best thing that's ever happened to me. They exchanged rings. Isabella's from both men. Theirs from her. And when Giacomo pronounced them married, both Andrew and Alessandro kissed her, one after the other, sealing promises that defied every rule she'd grown up believing. The reception was joy, dancing and laughter, and family embracing family. Isabella danced with Alessandro, with Andrew, with Giacomo, who spun her until she was dizzy with happiness. Late in the evening, she found herself alone on the terrace, needing a moment to process the enormity of what had just happened. Francesca joined her. How are you feeling? Married? Terrified? Ecstatic? Good. That's exactly how you should feel. Francesca squeezed her hand. You know you're a legend now, right? The woman who married into the Romano family and redefined everything we thought we knew about love. I'm just Isabella. You're never just anything. Not anymore. 6 months later, Isabella stood in the bathroom staring at the positive pregnancy test, her hands shaking. Pregnant. She was pregnant. And she had no idea who the father was. The thought should have terrified her, should have created conflict or confusion. Instead, she felt nothing but joy, because it didn't matter. Father or son, Andrew or Alessandro, this baby would be loved by both, would be part of their family in every way that counted. She found them in Andrew's study, going over shipping manifests. Both looked up when she entered, smiling. Hey, Alessandro said. We were just... He stopped, seeing her expression. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. She crossed to them, held out the test. Everything's perfect. Andrew took it first, his eyes widening. Then Alessandro, who made a sound between a laugh and a sob. You're pregnant. Yes. Alessandro pulled her into his arms, lifted her off the ground, spinning her while laughing. Andrew stood more slowly, his face transformed by wonder. A baby, he whispered. Our baby, Isabella corrected. All of ours. Andrew's eyes were wet. I never thought. I didn't think I'd get this again. Didn't think I deserved. Isabella reached for him, pulled him into the embrace with her and Alessandro. You deserve everything. We all do. They spent the evening planning, names and nurseries, and all the logistics of raising a child in their unconventional family. And through it all, Isabella felt nothing but certainty. This was right. This was family. This was love in its truest, most complicated, most beautiful form. I love you, she told them both. So much. We love you too, they answered together. And in that moment, surrounded by the men who'd chosen her as completely as she'd chosen them, Isabella knew they'd beaten every odd, had proven that love didn't need to follow rules to be real. It just needed to be brave enough to exist. 1 year after, the nursery was painted soft yellow, filled with light and laughter. Isabella sat in the rocking chair, their daughter, Sophia, sleeping peacefully in her arms. She was 6 months old, with dark curls and eyes that shifted between Alessandro's deep brown and Andrew's smoke gray depending on the light. It didn't matter whose DNA she carried. She belonged to all of them. Alessandro appeared in the doorway, tired from a day of meetings, but smiling at the sight of them. Is she down? Finally. She fought sleep like it was her job. He crossed the room, kissed Isabella's forehead, then Sophia's. Just like her mother. I don't fight sleep. You absolutely do. Andrew's voice came from behind Alessandro. He entered carrying a tray with tea and biscuits. You fight everything. It's one of the things I love most about you. They'd settled into parenthood with surprising ease, Andrew, who'd done this before, provided steady guidance. Alessandro, new to fatherhood, brought enthusiastic chaos. And Isabella held them all together with patience and love, and the occasional reminder that babies didn't actually need designer clothes. Some nights were hard, sleepless, exhausting, filled with crying and desperation. But they traded off, supported each other, learned together. And watching both men with their daughter was a gift Isabella treasured. The way Andrew held Sophia like she was made of glass, the way Alessandro talked to her constantly, telling her stories about the family she'd been born into. "I never knew I could love something this much," Alessandro said one night, watching Sophia sleep. "It's terrifying." "Welcome to parenthood," Andrew replied. "The terror never ends. It just changes shape." But along with joy came new challenges. The world that had grudgingly accepted their unusual relationship was less accepting of a child born into it. Questions arose about legitimacy, inheritance, what rights Sophia had to the Romano Empire. Giacomo helped them navigate the legal complexities. Officially, Alessandro was listed as Sophia's father, but Andrew's will explicitly named her as an heir, equal to any future children. They'd structured everything to protect her, regardless of biology. "She'll face scrutiny her whole life," Isabella said one evening. "People judging her family, questioning her place. Then we raise her strong," Andrew said. "Strong enough to tell them all to go to hell." In more polite terms, Alessandro added, "Obviously." 2 years later, Sophia toddled through the villa on unsteady legs, her laughter echoing off marble floors. She'd started talking early, mixing Italian and English in ways that made everyone smile. Isabella watched from the kitchen where she was helping Marco prepare dinner. Normal had become this: family dinners, Sophia's chaos, the comfortable rhythm of 3 people who'd built a life together. "You look happy," Marco observed. "I am. Happier than I ever thought possible." "Good. They deserve it. All 3 of you." But happiness, Isabella had learned, was fragile, and their peace was about to be tested in ways none of them expected. It started with a letter. Official, legal, delivered by courier. A paternity challenge from someone claiming to have information about Sophia's biological father. Demanding DNA testing. Threatening to expose the truth about the Romano family's immoral arrangement. Alessandro read it first, his face draining of color. They can't." Andrew took the letter, his expression hardening into something dangerous. "They can try. They'll fail." "Who would do this?" Isabella asked, fear rising. "Someone who wants to destabilize us again, who sees Sophia as leverage." Andrew crumpled the letter. "We're not playing this game. But if they go public, let them. Our daughter is legitimate in every way that matters. Any court in Italy will confirm it." But the threat lingered. The sender, anonymous of course, began leaking information to the press. Not enough to be actionable, just enough to raise questions, to plant seeds of doubt. Articles appeared questioning Sophia's legitimacy. Social media exploded with opinions about their inappropriate arrangement. Photos of all 3 of them with Sophia became ammunition for people who couldn't understand what they'd built. Isabella tried to ignore it, but watching strangers dissect her family, judge her daughter, call her terrible things, it wore on her. "I can't do this," she said one night, breaking down in tears. "I can't watch them tear her apart before she's old enough to understand." Andrew held her while Alessandro paced, furious and helpless. "We fight back," Alessandro said. "We tell our story, openly, honestly. Take away their power to speculate." "That's what they want," Andrew argued. "They want us exposed, vulnerable. We're already exposed. The only thing we haven't done is own it, completely." Isabella pulled back from Andrew, wiped her eyes. He's right. We've been living this life privately, letting people guess. Maybe it's time we stop apologizing and start explaining. Explaining what? That we're in love? All three of us? That we're raising a child together? The world isn't ready for that. The world doesn't have to be ready, Isabella said. We're not asking permission. We're just telling the truth. Andrew looked between them, saw the determination in both their faces. You're serious? Completely, Alessandro said. Then we do it right. An interview, major publication, our terms. We control the narrative completely. They chose a journalist known for fairness and depth, met with her at the villa, all three of them, with Sophia playing nearby. The photographer captured them naturally, Isabella leaning against Andrew, while Alessandro sat on the floor with Sophia. Family in its truest form. The questions were hard, expected. How did this start? How does it work? What about Sophia? What do you say to people who claim this is wrong? Isabella answered honestly. I fell in love with two men, father and son. And instead of forcing me to choose, they found a way to love me together. It's unconventional, yes, but it's also the healthiest, most honest relationship I've ever been in. Alessandro spoke about growing up in the Romano family, about learning that love wasn't weakness, about finding in Isabella someone brave enough to accept all of him. Andrew talked about second chances, about being given a gift he thought he'd lost forever, about watching his son find happiness and choosing to build it together instead of competing. What about Sophia? The journalist asked. How do you explain her family to her? We don't explain, Andrew said. We just love her. And when she's old enough to ask questions, we'll answer them honestly. That she has 3 parents who would die for her. That family looks different for everyone. That love is what makes it real, not biology or convention. The journalist studied them. You know this will be controversial. We know, Isabella said, but hiding hasn't protected us. Maybe honesty will. The article was published 3 weeks later. The headline, The Romano Family, Redefining Love in Modern Italy. The reaction was immediate and divided. Some praised their courage. Others condemned them as immoral. Religious groups protested. Progressive organizations celebrated them. But through it all, the Romano family stood firm. Giacomo gave an interview supporting them. My nephew and brother have built something beautiful. If society can't accept it, that's society's failure, not theirs. Other families, quiet ones, private ones, reached out. People living similar situations, grateful to finally see themselves represented. And slowly, the narrative shifted. From scandal to curiosity. From judgment to grudging acceptance. Things weren't perfect 6 months after the interview. They still faced discrimination, still dealt with whispers and stares. But they also found community. Found others breaking rules and rewriting definitions. Sophia turned 3. They threw her a party at the villa, filled with family and friends who loved them regardless of how unconventional they were. Isabella watched her daughter blow out candles, surrounded by love, and felt tears of gratitude. This little girl would grow up knowing she was wanted, knowing her family fought for their right to exist exactly as they were. You okay? Alessandro asked, appearing at her side. More than okay. Perfect. Good. Because we have something to tell you. Isabella turned to find Andrew joining them, his expression soft with contained excitement. Tell me what? We've been talking, Andrew said, about the future, about making sure Sophia has siblings, about giving you everything you've ever wanted. I have everything I want. Do you? Alessandro took her hand. Or have you been afraid to ask for more? Isabella's heart started pounding. What are you saying? We want more children, Andrew said simply. With you, as many as you want to have. And we want them to grow up in a house that's legally theirs, Alessandro added. So we're restructuring the trust, making sure everything we have is protected for all of them, equally. Tears spilled down Isabella's cheeks. You've really thought about this. We've thought about nothing else, Andrew admitted. Building a future that's ours, all of ours. 5 years later, the villa was chaos. Beautiful, wonderful chaos. Sophia was 8, chasing her younger brother Luca through the garden, while their youngest sister, Chiara, toddled after them on unsteady legs. 3 children. 3 perfect, wild, loved children who knew nothing but acceptance and joy. Isabella stood on the terrace, watching them play, feeling Andrew's arms wrap around her from behind. Happy? He murmured against her hair. Deliriously. Alessandro joined them, looking exhausted but content. Luca just asked if all families have 2 dads. What did you say? That all families are different, but ours is pretty great. Perfect answer. The years had been kind to them. Andrew was 65 now, silver-haired and distinguished. Alessandro was 40, comfortable in his power and his role. And Isabella was 33, more confident than the scared girl who'd walked into that hotel suite a decade ago. They'd survived scandals and threats, raised children in the spotlight, built an empire together that was both business and family. Some people still didn't understand, still judged. But the Romanos had stopped caring what people thought. They lived their truth openly, unapologetically. And their children, God, their children were remarkable, smart, kind, secure in ways Isabella had never been at their age. I was thinking, Andrew said one evening after the children were asleep, about renewing our vows. All of us. Make it official again. Show the children that commitment matters. I'd like that, Isabella said. Me too, Alessandro agreed. But bigger this time. Not hiding. Really celebrating what we've built. A proper Romano event? Exactly, Isabella laughed. You two just want an excuse for a party. Absolutely. But also, Andrew turned her to face him. Also, I want to stand in front of the world and claim you again. Want our children to see that love this unconventional can still be celebrated. Then let's do it. They planned the vow renewal for their 10-year anniversary, the same villa where they'd first married, but this time with hundreds of guests, friends from around the world, family from every branch of the Romano tree, business associates who'd learned to accept them, and the press because they'd stopped hiding. Sophia, Luca, and Chiara were part of the ceremony. Sophia read a poem about family. Luca held the rings. Chiara scattered flowers, with serious concentration. Isabella wore ivory this time, softer and more romantic than her first wedding dress. Both men wore matching suits, standing side by side as she approached. Giacomo officiated again, older, but still steady. 10 years ago, 3 people stood here and promised to build something unprecedented. Today, we celebrate that they kept that promise. The vows were different now, shaped by years of experience, by challenges overcome, by love that had deepened into something unshakable. Alessandro went first. I promise to keep choosing you, every day, for the rest of my life. To share you with my father without jealousy. To raise our children to be as brave as you are. To never take for granted the gift of your love. Andrew's voice was thick with emotion. I promise to love you until my last breath, to support your dreams and our children's futures, to stand beside Alessandro as we build something that outlasts us, to never regret a single moment of this complicated, beautiful life. Isabella's turn. I promise to be brave, to keep choosing both of you, even when it's hard. To raise our children to know that love has no rules except honesty and kindness. To build a family that's ours, regardless of what anyone else thinks. And to love you both, fiercely and completely, for as long as I'm breathing. They exchanged rings again, new ones, engraved with the date and their children's names. And when they kissed, first Alessandro, then Andrew, their children cheered and the guests applauded. The reception was joy, dancing and toasts, and their children running wild with cousins. Isabella danced with both men, then with Sophia, who was getting tall and graceful. "You're happy, Mama?" Sophia asked. "So happy, baby." "Good, because Papa and Daddy said we might get another brother or sister soon." Isabella laughed, looking over at where Andrew and Alessandro stood together, watching them with matching expressions of love. "Maybe. Would you like that?" "Yes. I want a big family. Like ours." "Then that's what we'll give you." 15 years later, Isabella stood in the same spot on the terrace, where she'd first agreed to this impossible life, watching sunset, paint Florence in gold and pink. She was 48 now, her body softer from bearing 5 children, her face lined with laughter and time. Behind her, the villa hummed with family. Sophia was 23, studying art history in Paris, but home for the holidays. Luca was 20, working with Alessandro in the business. Chiara was 18, wild and brilliant. And the twins, Marco and Bianca, were 13 and unstoppable. 5 children, 3 parents. One unconventional, beautiful family. Andrew appeared beside her, now 80, still strong but slower. His hand found hers automatically. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Everything. How we got here. What we've built." "Regrets?" "Not one." He pulled her close, kissed her temple. "Good. Because I'm not done with you yet." Alessandro joined them, 55 now, with silver threads in his dark hair. "The kids want to do family dinner soon. They're getting impatient." "Let them wait," Andrew said. "I want one more moment, just the 3 of us." They stood together as the sun finished setting, as they'd stood countless times before. 3 people who'd chosen to love against all odds, who'd built something unprecedented and made it last. "I love you," Isabella said to both of them. "We love you too," they answered together. And in that moment, surrounded by family and love and the life they'd built together, Isabella knew they'd won. Had proven that love didn't need to follow rules to be real. It just needed to be brave enough to exist. 25 years after, the documentary crew set up in the villa's living room. They'd requested an interview for a piece about unconventional families who'd changed social norms. The Romano family had agreed. Isabella sat between Alessandro and Andrew, their hands intertwined. 90 years old, Andrew was frailer now, but still sharp. Alessandro at 65 was distinguished, comfortable in his skin. And Isabella, at 58, radiated contentment. "Tell us," the interviewer said. "What made this work?" Isabella thought about it. Honesty, communication, the willingness to put love before convention. And choosing each other, Alessandro added, every day, even when it was hard. Andrew squeezed their hands. "We didn't have a blueprint. We built this ourselves, made mistakes, learned, grew, but we never gave up on each other." "What about your children? How did they handle growing up in this family?" "They're proud of it," Isabella said. "Sophia's writing a book about our family. Luca married his partner last year, another man who understands that love is love. Chiara's a civil rights lawyer fighting for family rights. And the twins are just starting their lives, but they're not afraid to be themselves." "So you'd say it was worth it? The judgment, the challenges?" All three of them answered simultaneously. Absolutely. After the crew left, the family gathered for dinner. All 5 children, now with partners and children of their own. 15 people around the table, representing everything Isabella, Andrew, and Alessandro had built. To family, Giacomo's son raised his glass. Giacomo himself had passed 5 years earlier, but his legacy lived on. To love, Sophia added. To courage, Luca said. And they all drank, celebrating the impossible thing that had become their beautiful reality. Late that night, Isabella stood once more on her terrace. Andrew and 333 had fallen asleep in the living room, worn out from the day's celebrations. She watched them through the window, still together, still united, even in sleep. 25 years, 5 children, countless challenges, and love that had only deepened with time. She thought about the scared girl who'd walked into a hotel suite and been asked to choose, who'd answered with impossible honesty, "Can I want both?" That question had changed everything, had given her a family, a purpose, a love she'd never dared to dream of. And standing there in the quiet night, surrounded by the life they'd built, Isabella smiled. Because she'd learned the most important lesson. Love didn't need permission, didn't need to follow rules. It just needed to be brave enough to exist. And theirs had existed beautifully. Love comes in forms we don't expect. It breaks rules we thought were absolute. It asks us to be braver than we thought possible. But when we have the courage to choose it, to fight for it, it builds something that can withstand anything. The Romano family chose love, chose honesty, chose each other. And in doing so, they proved that family is what we make it. That convention matters less than commitment. That 3 hearts can beat as one when they're brave enough to try. Thank you for reading their story. May you find the courage to write your own, whatever form it takes. And don't forget to subscribe and share to friends and families. See you in the next one.